is Matt Vance. I have known Curt and Glenn Hubbard since I was 5 years old. And we have been playing music together almost that entire time. We got this idea, it was probably over 10 years ago. Glenn and I think were spitballing just different recording projects we were both working on. And I was kind of reflecting back on the experience I've had as a musician and how I grew as a musician. And one of the most important and pivotal people in that development was Bill Hubbard.
He wasn't the kind of guy who would have used the term self-expression or art even for what he was doing, because he was a working musician. He thought of what he was doing as a profession.
Bill Hubbard was the first one to give me professional musical experience and treat me like a pro, and introduce me to a lot of music that I never would have played otherwise.
Before we looked at each other in the same way then, but I can't remember where.
A lot of it's tied in our legacy of our family. It's also the story, though. To me, there's a kind of a crossover, if you will, between the music itself and the story, and they're so intertwined. It's about a story about Miami in the 50s. My dad starting off, coming out of Miami High and then going to University of Miami, and kind of the fading out of dance bands as rock and rolls come into being, but still playing a lot in Miami area in the 50s. Story continues to North Carolina, where I grew up, and my dad started a dance band, and where Matt, Glenn, and I all cut our teeth at the Green Park Inn in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, playing these tunes in the dance band.
That experience I can't tell you how crucial that was for me, because that set me up on the path to what I'm doing today, not only as a professional musician, but as a product manager for a major musical instrument company, Buffet Crampon USA. All those things go back to the experience I had playing in the Boone Big Band with Bill Hubbard.
My dad, Bill Hubbard, and his college buddy, Don Rose, put together bands, booked a lot of gigs in the early to mid 1950s. And they were both studying to be arrangers, arranging being the composition, essentially, of what you hear when a band such as a big band decides to perform a familiar tune, but perform it in a way that doesn't sound like the original version. There are new lines that have to be written. What do the trombones play? What do the trumpets play? What do the saxes play? What are the harmonies? They did a lot of interesting stuff, and they were just guys in their college guys and guys in their 20s who were booking gigs to pay the bills, and yet they're sitting down with pencil and staff paper and writing out just this gorgeous, breathtaking music.
I think there's a story that intertwines Miami and also generations of Hubbards and folks like that. My dad had, he touched a lot of folks through this music.
The fact that he gave us opportunities at a very young age to play professionally, which we had no business playing professionally, honestly. But the fact that he let us play in his professional big band and learn on the spot, learn on gigs, was incredible, invaluable experience for all of us. And so for me, it was important to pay that back, to honor the legacy of Bill Hubbard and the experience that he gave me and gave Curt and gave Glenn. So to be able to honor the friendship and the musical growth that was provided by the whole Hubbard family to me, this is much more than a musical project. This is a passion project.
1, 2.
that we have assembled for this project are some of the best musicians I've ever worked with, but they're also some of the best people that I know. And it was obvious right away when the guys started loading their equipment in, getting ready for the recording session. The synergy was there immediately.
It's kind of a little bit out of the way. It's a little gathering place. It's a band room, here in Jacksonville. But all these people just started coming in, piling in here, and as soon as that first downbeat happened, the band was on.
I don't think anybody in the room when we were recording Satan Takes a Holiday could believe that they were involved in a project that was making music that sounded like that.
Matt assembled a team here that's just phenomenal. Every one of them is a just sick musician, and they're solo by themselves. And you put 17 of these folks together in a room, and all of a sudden magic started happening. For the first note, you're like, holy moly, that's what that's supposed to sound like?
That's a good feeling as a musician because there are a lot of variables that you worry about. But once everything starts and you hear it going the way you hoped it was going to go, that's the best feeling in the world.
I kind of became like the band librarian, if you will. It's a really great title for me. There were a lot of folders that were stored away in storage that were never used, never played in even my dad's bands. And the more I talked to Don Rose and the more I dug through these arrangements, I found more and more of these time capsule-like things where the music is absolutely pristine. They've never been out of their books before, so they're packaged up in 1956, 58, 61, somewhere in that range, put in a folder, and then opened a couple months ago when I went through and started going through all the charts.
There's a lot of music in these books, and I get to get it organized.
We had a list of stuff a few months ago that we wanted to do, and I've just been adding more and more and more in there and bumping other stuff down because I'm really excited about the ones that have never been played before. So a guy arranged them in 1956, 58, somewhere in that range, and they signed the back of the arrangement on the date they finished the arrangement. Officially played in 2018.
The choice of music here largely was based on what did we have, what was in my dad's closet. In an ideal world, if we could just dream up any project, what songs would we do? That wasn't how this project came together. This was, okay, what do we have? This is the treasure trove. This is the archive. Let's pick some stuff from it and record it. And I am hard pressed to think of too many projects that come along every year that take shape quite in that way.
This music was so important in the development of pop music in America and really worldwide. So I think it's important that way that we open up this time capsule, try to do these arrangements justice, and also using this music to introduce it to a new generation of listeners.
I think we would be the first to tell you unapologetically that this music is uncool according to some of the standards that we grew up with. And I just think that's the coolest thing about it.
And it's also about passing this down to my kids. And so, Will's here, which is really special.
It's important to me, It's been going on way before I was here, farther back, even before my dad. And so it's really cool to be a part of that, and nice that something that's been going on in my family for so long is still going on, and that I'll be able to be a part of it.
I think maybe younger generations aren't going to hear this music and go, oh, that's that cheesy music my grandma listened to. This is fresher. This is something that they have less frame of reference and less association with. And I hope that will result in a little bit more open-mindedness to it, maybe even than my generation would have had.
It's going to be magical to have about 29 songs, I'm hoping between 24 and 29 songs recorded over a 2-day period that no one has ever heard before, unless you happen to hear them in Miami Beach in 1956 or something.
to be able to hear what he had in his ear and in his mind that he put on paper. You know, you can play stuff on a piano, but until you get live instruments, you get trumpets, trombones, saxophones, rhythm section, playing what's on the paper, you really don't know what it's going to sound like. And the fact that these arrangements haven't been played for so long, and the fact that Bill Hubbard has been gone for a long time, I would like to think if he heard the arrangements now and heard the recording, he'd say, yeah, that's what I had in mind. And yeah, that's how that should be played.
I think he'd be like, oh my God, all that stuff I arranged works. Because I don't think he's had a band since the early 50s. I seriously doubt even the band he had in Miami was of this caliber. I mean, it'd be hard to get 17 people to show up every night, these kind of guys.
We're in a different time now where you can get away with sounding like you have the atmosphere of the 40s or the 50s in your record. And so I think my dad would have been a little surprised at that, but he also would have been gratified by it. And he would have said, okay, I was right. I've been saying all along that the big bands were coming back, and here we are in a place where we really are able to do a project that sounds like real big band music and is recorded the way real big band music should be recorded. I think he would be happy that we got to this place.
It's just a revival from back when he wrote it in the 50s. It's incredible how cool and alive the music has become now that we're playing it during this time.
We're honoring his name and his musicianship with this recording and with this assemblage of musicians. And we're also honoring Curt and Glenn too. So I keep using the word legacy because not only are we honoring Bill Hubbard's legacy, Curt and Glenn are the legacy, and Will is the legacy too. He's the next tier in the legacy of the Hubbard musicians.
It is one of those treasures. You don't know it's a treasure unless you know you have it. And so these boxes of music have been sitting out in my garage. So I want people to know what this stuff is. And now Will, who's been helping out, will have seen all of this and go, okay, we might want to hang on to these arrangements. This is something magical that happened in 2018.
Whether I knew that deeply passionate creative side of him, I do know it because it's in me. And it's the same passion that drives me to make music, and it's the same passion that drives me to put in hours on end on this project, and it makes me so proud of it. So that's kind of cool for me to find yet another connection with my dad, who's been gone 33 years, that I almost didn't know I had.
It's my honor to be part of this project. It really is. I mean, it's a privilege to work with my friends, to honor their dad's legacy, to honor our musicianship and our friendship for 45 years. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
That's a wrap. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to rewrite some of this stuff and figure out how to take some of the alternate endings and fill in this little triangle. But here's a little jigsaw puzzle piece from Tenor 1. I wonder who played Tenor 1 back in the day and messed this all up. Oh yeah, that was me.
Disassembling this clock so it doesn't make noise. Not very successful so far.
60 years. 60 years, never been played. Now we get to hear it. Hope it doesn't suck.